Chapter 2 Equestrian Wasteland. What world do you live in? Out here in the real world. Blood flows, little pony. Blood flows. Nothingness! My first several seconds outside were a heart-bursting eternity of hoof-pounding terror. The stories had been right. All that was outside was a great black nothingness. It surrounded me, suffocating. If I had been able to draw a breath, I would have screamed. And then my eyes started to adjust to the darkness. I began to calm, gasping, feeling weak, and not just a little foolish. In my defense, I had never experienced night before. Not really. Sure, I'd always turn the lights off before curling into bed, but that darkness was small, confined to my little room. And there was always the glow from under the door. The hall lights of Stable 2 were eternal. This was different. A cool air, quite unlike anything within the stable, tickled my coat and chilled my skin beneath. It bore smells that were dank and rotting, dusty and alien. I could hear the sounds of night insects, creaking of wood, and far-off sloshing. But I was struck more by what I couldn't hear. The constant low hum of the stable's generators, and the ever-present high whine of the lights were gone. So powerful in their absence that I first mistook the outside as silent. I could feel the dirt and broken stone beneath my hooves, so unlike the smooth and sterile floors I had trodden all my life. And though I could not see much or far, I could see further than I had ever seen before, and there were no walls to mark the end of the room. I was staring into a horizontal abyss that stretched out from me in every direction. An entirely new panic began to form within me. My hind legs went out from under me as I sat, stunned. I turned my gaze to the ground, breathing deeply, thanking it not only for holding me up, but being a visual endpoint. Then, I made the mistake of looking up into the sky, and the absolute endless upness of it sent my head spinning, and my stomach lurching. Great masses of clouds rolled over most of the sky, but there were gaps through which soft light poured, and through those I could see the up went on forever. Insanely, I thought of the clouds as a great net, made to catch me if I fell from the earth into the yawning gulf above. But if I slipped through the holes, I would just fall up, forever. I clenched my eyes shut and tried to keep from vomiting. The fear and queasiness was intense but passing. Once my faculties returned, I began to notice those things that had escaped me in my initial panic. The surrounding terrain was becoming evident. The world around me did not stretch out evenly. The ground heaved and rolled, hills creeping towards mountains. The earth was punctured by the upthrusting black fingers of long dead trees. Along distant hilltops, I could see the swaying, leaf-shrouded branches of healthier woods, but the living trees near Stable 2 were few, scattered, and sickly. Second, I noticed that my pip-buck was flashing with a host of alerts. The map marker was already beginning to do its work on my new and unfamiliar surroundings, and to my surprise, I had already pulled a label from the ether. Sweet Apple Acres. Turning around to get my bearings, my eyes were drawn to the large, hollowed husk of what I assumed had once been a magnificent house. Now, it creaked and swayed in the breeze as if threatening to collapse. Looking to my pip-buck again, I noticed that it was picking up several radio transmissions. The radio broadcast from Stable 2 was dark, but news stations had taken its place. My heart leapt, for it was the first indication that there might be pony life out here after all. I nudged my pip-buck to start playing the first station on the list. Still sealed up. There is no way inside. My son. He ate one of the apples from those damned apple trees up near the stable, and now he's terribly sick. Too sick to move. We've holed up in the cistern near the old memorial. We're running out of food and medical supplies. Please, if any pony hears this, help us. Message repeats. Hello? Is there any pony out there? Please, we need help. I was bringing my family to the stable, up near Sweet Apple Acres, when we were attacked by raiders. Only my son and I survived. We made it to the stable, but it's still sealed up. There is no way inside. My son, he ate one of those apples from those damned apple trees up near the stable, and now he's terribly sick. Too sick to move. We've holed up in the cistern near the old memorial. We're running out of food and medical supplies. Please, if any pony hears this, help us. Message repeats. Hello? A voice was filled with a terrible resignation, as if the pony had already given up hope and was just going through the motions. Shaken, I turned it off. I didn't think I could bear to hear it again. That is when I noticed the soft ticking from my pip buck. Checking it over, I discovered that its radiation detector, a feature I had never known to be used, had self-activated. The cute little rainbow dial had always been planted firmly in the green. It was still there, but edging discreetly towards the yellow. I couldn't just stand here beside what had long ago been the door to a simple apple cellar for the rest of my life. Well, I could, but it would be a relatively short and miserable life. A realization was dawning on me. With so many directions to go, what was the likelihood I would choose the path that Velvet Remedy had followed? Even though she had only had a few hours head start, the prospect of finding her was bleak. But I had to start somewhere, and the best chance I had was to get up high and have a look around. The ruins near me rose higher than any of the nearby trees, and the sheared-off roof of its upper tower was probably the best vantage point I could hope for. I closed my eyes, steadied myself, and went inside. What was left of the Sweet Apple Acres building proved sturdier than it looked, or sounded. It was also almost barren. Anything of value that had survived had been looted, leaving only scraps that nobody wanted, but that time itself seemed unable to erase. Rusted shoes, boxes of soaps for cleaning dresses that no longer existed, a pitchfork with a shattered handle, a rake. I began up the stairs. My eyes were alerted to a feeble glow, the soft green color of poisoned apple, bathing the room above. The glow came from the screen of an old terminal, a device of arcane science identical to the ones used throughout Stable 2. It seemed miraculous that it still worked after centuries on the outside. And Stable-Tech built something, they built it to last. Curiosity lured me to it, and my wonder was quickly replaced with understanding. It was no coincidence that this particular terminal was live, for on it was a fresh message. To any pony who has left Stable 2 in search of me, please go home. I am doing what I have to do. The Overmare understands, even if she can never agree, and I hope one day you will too. I will not be back. Do not look for me. Do not endanger yourself further for my sake. Please forgive me. Velvet Remedy. I searched the terminal for more, but all the other messages were ancient and corrupted, save for one. And that one had a rather unique encryption, something I had heard of, but never seen before. A binary encryption, such that in order to decrypt it, I would first have to download the message into my pip-buck from both the terminal which had been used to send it, and the one upon which it was received. Having nothing better to do with the vast amounts of storage my pip-buck was capable of, I downloaded it. In reality, I knew that the chances that I would ever come across the companion terminal, much less that it would be functional, were overwhelmingly against me. Nor did I have any reason to believe that a message centuries old would be of any significance. More importantly, I now had to face that outside was my new home. Even if I found Velvet Remedy, it was unlikely that she would accompany me back. I'll admit, I had been subtly entertaining a fantasy where the Overmare would be so delighted with Velvet's return that she would embrace us both back into the herd, maybe even throw me a party. Now, I was forced to admit how foolish that vision was. Thinking upon it, this made my head fill with black clouds. But as I reached the top of the ruins, and I looked out over the wasteland, a bright light, feeble as it was, flickered in that darkness, just as the light from the campfire, not half an hour's trot distance, poked an orange hole in the night.